Hi everyone, I'm Christine from Readerly Musings, and today I'm going to be filming a frequently asked questions video. I got the idea to do this because I know some people always ask me the same questions in comments, or they forget because there are so many bloggers and vloggers out there. They forget who's who, kind of. And so I thought I would do this to help people get to know me better. For the beginning of this video, I'm not going to be answering specific questions that were sent in to me. I'm going to be just talking a bit about myself and answering what would be the most basics of questions that some people, figure, well, I'm not going to ask that. Everyone's going to ask that. So, first off, as I've said, my name is Christine. Right now, I am 25 years old. My birthday is in exactly 2 weeks on May 29th. And I'm going to be turning 26. I was born in 1988 for those of you who are curious. I live in northeastern New Jersey with my parents for a lot of different reasons. Financial is one of them. Convenience is another. And I'm okay with it, actually. I really like it. I mean, I know some people would think it's odd, you're 25 years old, you're still living with your parents, why aren't you on your own and experiencing the world by yourself? But I really like being able to still be a part of my family's lives, a part of my parents' lives, and hear about their day-to-day instead of feeling out of the loop like I know some people do when they move away. And so I really like having that connection, and I'm close to both my parents. I watch TV I watch different TV shows with each of them. I watched The Big Bang Theory and The Goldbergs with my dad, and I'm trying to get him to watch all of the new series of Doctor Who because I really enjoy that show. I love that show. And I'm also trying to get him to watch Torchwood and The Sarah Jane Adventures. But we haven't even finished Matt Smith's first season yet, and I've been doing this with him since before Matt Smith took over. So I don't know when we're actually going to finish that, but really hoping it'll be soon. I also try to get my dad to read some of the same books as me because I really like talking to him about it, because even though he's not he doesn't get as involved with the books as I do, it's still interesting to hear his thoughts on it. Right now we're reading the Chronicles of Prydain together. He's on book 4 and I'm waiting till he gets halfway through to start book 5, since he is a really slow reader. It can take him over a week to read one book, and I mean, the Chronicles of Prydain, the books are like this thick. They're not very long at all, but it still takes him a while. And I really like talking to him about it because I'll be like, oh my god, I love Tarn, I love Eilonwy, look at Gergie with munchings and crunchings, and my dad's just like humoring me like, but he still does come up with different comments. Like, I was asking him where he was in the book on Tuesday, and he said that Tarn had just met up with the 3 wacko ladies, and I'm like, you can't even remember their names or just say the 3 O's since they're witches, and all their names begin with O. You can't do that. So I really love doing that. I've also got him to read the Graveyard book by Neil Gaiman recently. I've also given him recently The Murder of the Orient Express and Perks of Being a Wallflower. He read both of those and I think he enjoyed them. Like I said, he doesn't get into books as much as I do, where he's really, really excited for them. And the same with TV shows and movies. He just doesn't, and he sometimes doesn't even remember what he's seen, what he's read, because it's like you have to jog his memory a bit. My mom does not read at all. She's never been a big reader, so I don't get to share any of my books with her, but I do watch TV with her. Probably our biggest show that we watch together right now is Days of Our Lives, the soap opera, which I know is a little whatever, but it gives us a chance to every day watch a new episode and talk. And sometimes she'll also join in with my dad when we watch the Goldbergs. For hobbies other than reading, I like to write. I hope to be a published author someday. I don't know if it's gonna happen, but it's one of my wishes for the future, one of my dreams. Sometimes I draw, not very often. I used to draw a lot more often than I do now, but I've gotten away from it. I don't know why, but I do still like doing it from time to time. Sometimes it's like ridiculous how little I draw, and then sometimes I'll just get on this drawing kick and I'll draw a lot. I also like taking pictures, which is why I have my beautiful, beautiful camera that I'm filming this on. I got it a year ago, and I took a photography class, a beginner's photography class, and I really enjoy it, and I love going out and taking pictures, especially of wildlife, and looking for animals and trying to get a really, really cool shot. Like sometimes I'll come across a wild turkey, and I'll be clicking the camera, like click, 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 like so many pictures, waiting to see if the turkey will do something, like spread out all its feathers, you know, and getting to see that beautiful, beautiful plumage and that sort of thing. And sometimes I'll take pictures of deer, and I've gotten some really good pictures of deer leaping over fences that I really like. Also ducklings and goslings. They are so cute. I haven't seen any yet this year, but last year when I was taking pictures of them, when I was really just starting to take pictures, I went to the town's nature center, and I was literally like 10 feet away from a family of Canadian geese with their little ones, and I was just sitting on a rock taking picture after picture after picture, and the mom and dad geese were a little wary, but you know, they didn't attack me, they didn't come at me, and oh, so wonderful. I really love taking pictures, especially of nature. People sometimes, yes. Not as much, just because it's like, because I want to take candid shots, but with this camera it is a DSLR, so I feel like it's like you have a camera and everyone knows you're taking pictures. But I do take a lot of pictures when I go to events, and I go to panels, book panels, because I feel like, you know, when they're talking, you never know if you're going to get the right expression, and you know, sometimes you might get a really nice picture of of the author laughing, you know, so I really like taking pictures. So that's about it for some of my basic stuff. Okay, so now on to the questions that I was asked. The first batch of questions was asked by Francine of Always Lost in Books, and I'll leave a link to her blog below. She made a post earlier today, and it was part my reading habits tag, which I had actually tagged her in, and then the second half was her accepting her Leavster Award nomination. And these are the questions that were asked, but she said she wasn't going to answer them, but that everyone who was reading that post had to answer them. And I thought, hey, I'm filming a frequently asked questions video. This is a perfect time to answer those. So, first question, what are you afraid of? Oh my god, this is so easy for me. Just really, for me it's the 3 S's, and that is snakes, sharks, and spiders. Now, I don't know when I'm ever going to run into a shark, except in an aquarium, but they scare the hell out. They scare me so much. I cannot watch movies with sharks without having to look away. Snakes, one time I almost stepped on one. I did not see it. I swear, I did not see it. I went, it was when I was in my freshman year of high school, and went to the local nature center during my biology class, and we were just walking through the woods, and all of a sudden I almost stepped on this little garter snake. I was freaking out so bad. But yeah, snakes terrify me. I cannot even watch the opening scene of the movie Holes. You know, when he purposely steps on the rattlesnake. I cannot handle that. And spiders. I have the most difficult time in the world even smushing them. Even the little teeny tiny ones that you can hardly see. oh my god, I am ready to freak out and leave whatever room I'm in. I'm ready to jump out the window. I don't care. I cannot stand being in a room with a spider. And as you can probably guess from these 3 S's, Harry Potter and the Chamber of Secrets was seriously just hell for me. I mean, one scene you've got spiders crawling all around, and then you've got Ron talking about a teddy bear turning into a spider, and he was 3 years old, and then you've got the giant spiders, and then you've got the snake using the plumbing to get around the school, and it's just like, oh my god. And then it's not even a normal sized snake, it's a giant snake. And then there was that giant spider Aragog, and oh my god, no. I even now, even though I've read that book so many times and seen that movie quite a few times, I still have such a hard time getting through it. It is unbelievable. It really, really is. So, as you can probably guess, that's my least favorite of all the Harry Potter books. Okay, second question. What's the funniest book you've ever read? Well, there are a lot. I always try and find a little bit of humor in every single book, no matter how sad they are. So I don't really know what's the funniest novel I've ever read. But as far as non-fiction, non-novel, whatever you want to call it, there's a whole series of books by Leland Gregory that I absolutely love. And the only book I have on hand to show you is Stupid American History. Even just the titles of these books are so funny. For instance, the first book is What's the Number for 911? The second one is What's the Number for 911 Again? And then down at the bottom it says What's the Number for 911 Second Edition. I don't know if that is just with more added to What's the Number for 911 or what, but it's just like, oh my gosh. And they're just so funny. They've got these weird facts. I just love them. I mean, even like the headings on some of these are incredible. One of the blurbs here is called What About the Whites of Their Eyes? It says, Captain John Parker, who commanded the Lexington militia at the Battle of Lexington on April 19, 1975, was quoted as saying, "Don't fire unless fired upon, but if they mean to have war, let it begin here." It's doubtful he ever said it. The quote didn't surface until 1858 and was brought to everyone's attention by Parker's grandson Theodore. And it's not, you know, the most... And it's just these really weird facts, and I love them. Here's another one. This one doesn't have a title. It's just a little blurb with stars and stripes. Civil War Union General Lew Wallace, 1827 to 1905, gained his greatest fame not from activities on the battlefield, but as the author of the novel Ben-Hur, A Tale of the Christ. And it's just these wonderful, wonderful little facts that, you know, you would never know other than if you like read books like this. Another book that I don't have is the Stupid Crook book, and it tells you about how they're idiots, like, you know, going into a convenience store with a gun, not having a ski mask or nothing, and the person knows exactly who they are. They don't try, you know, to get away or anything or they don't try and do anything to avoid capture. They're just, oh man. So if you can, look into these. Like, even if you just borrow them from the library, even if you just sit down at the cafe in Barnes & Noble or, you know, any bookstore really, and just flip through them. They are really, really enjoyable. As far as memoirs go, and this one I recommend to everyone, but especially anyone who wants to read about a true about someone who has dealt with anxiety for their lives throughout their lives. I recommend Let's Pretend This Never Happened, a mostly true memoir by Jenny Lawson, aka the bloggess. And just so you know, the reason this is so shiny is not because the book is shiny, but because I have Mylar protective covers on the majority of my hardcovers, and so yeah. Same with same with some of the other books I showed you. So that's why this is so shiny. But I love this. There are some wonderful, wonderful stories in here. I cannot recommend this enough. It's just, oh my gosh, this book. It had me laughing out loud when I was reading it. I mean, I was reading it at night. I could not put it down. I was reading it. I was laughing so hard. I was afraid I was going to wake up my parents. And just, oh man, this book. Next question. What's your greatest talent? I honestly don't know. Reading really fast, does that count? I don't know. I've never really had a talent, like with talent shows and stuff. I've never really considered anything that I'm talented at. So, someone else find out and tell me what I'm talented at doing. I want to know. Next one, what's your secret obsession that you're comfortable saying? My secret obsession, books. Just look at these shelves, people. Books, books, books. I can't even show you the top of my bookcase. It is up so high, and I can't reach the books on the shelves without standing on a step stool. And this is not all my books. I've got a shelf over there. I've got a bookcase right there, behind the camera. Can't show you because it's a mess right now, because that has a shelf for my Harry Potter shrine, and yeah, no. And then I've got another bookcase in what is currently the guest room in my house, but used to be my brother's room. And then I've got books and boxes. So yeah, books. Next one is favorite word. I don't have a favorite word. I like all words. I mean, some words are more fun to say than others, but other than that, like, I don't have a favorite. I love them all. Maybe I should say dictionary, because that contains all the words. Yeah, no favorite word. Next question. If you were a book, what kind of book would you be? I would be a really, really boring contemporary about a bookaholic. Okay, let's just leave it at that. Bookaholic. That's me. Would you rather write a book or have a book written about you? I would definitely rather write a book. I am not a very... I tend to be a private person, so I would much rather write a book, and not just because I like writing, but just because I would not like everyone knowing everything that I think and everything that I do and that sort of thing. Plus my life is boring, and it would not make a good book. If you could live in a book, what would it be and why? If I could live in a book, can I live in Harry Potter? I feel like a lot of people would say that, but I love Hogwarts. I love the characters. Just as long as no one kills me, I'd want to live in Harry Potter. Do you think music is related to books? How? Well, like I just read the book Ingrid by Lynette Craft, and that had a beautiful soundtrack that went along with it. But I do, even though not all books have dedicated soundtracks like that, or even where the author says what music they were listening to as they wrote it, I definitely do think that music and books go together. I write to music. I make playlists for all my books. Not the books I read, the books I write. And it definitely helps get in the mood. It helps better get into a specific frame of mind. And it's just, I really think, I really do. Favorite quote. I don't really have a favorite quote. I mean, I used to, and I still have it jotted down someplace, and I don't know where it is right now. I think it's by Jessamine West, if I recall correctly. and it does not apply to me anymore because things have changed since. But the quote was saying how being a writer is a very solitary job, a solitary life, and how a writer has to be ruthless and not spend time with other people. But for the past 2.5 years now, I've been a part of a writing group, and I've learned that being a writer is does not have to be such a solitary life. I mean, yes, you'll probably get more writing done when you're not with a group of people and there's not the chance, and you're not necessarily going to talk or chat or, get sidetracked by socializing with them. But it does not have to be where you're sitting in front of the computer and you're like, no one talk to me. It does not have to be like that all the time. Another favorite quote of mine is, and I don't know who said this because I've heard it I've heard it attributed to so many people, including Leonardo da Vinci, and then I read somewhere that it might have just been paraphrased from another quote, so I don't know, but the quote is, "Art is never finished, only abandoned." And I really like that sentiment. Not necessarily that you abandon your manuscript or your painting, but just that you feel like it's finished, but it not necessarily is. Because everything can always because everything, can always be bettered. It can always be made, you can always make changes to it. It's just when you finally get to that point where you say, okay, no more changes, and you're okay with what there is, and technically it is abandonment. Okay, this next batch of questions were all sent to me by Jorie of Jorie Loves a Story, and I will leave a link to her blog down below as well. And also some of these questions were sent in her by her father, and I will say which ones those were. First question, what is the best thing you've learned about yourself since you started to curate your book blog? And what have you found surprising now that you're also a blogger? The best thing I've learned about myself is probably how comfortable I am talking to people about books that I love, and finding new books that they love and loving them, and then myself, and then talking about them. And that's because I've never really had many friends who were as into books as I was, who spent so much time reading and who got so invested in the characters. And I knew that I liked talking about Harry Potter with people, and I liked, and I was very much a part of the Harry Potter fandom for a really long time there, but I never really got to talk about other books. And so with my book blog, I love that I'm able to talk about other books, and I love seeing how many other people talk about books that are not just Harry Potter, and they recommend all these other books, and it's been incredible. It really, really has. As far as vlogging, I've learned that I'm a lot more comfortable in front of the camera than I thought I would be. I've been thinking about vlogging for a few months now, and actually I did try and film one back in March, I think, and it was going to be my reaction to a book that I was having a really hard time writing my thoughts down for a review, and I still haven't actually written up a review for it, but I was too nervous in that video. I really was, and I was not getting my thoughts across at all, so I deleted it. But yeah, I'm a lot more comfortable in front of the camera than I thought I would be, and I learned that, I mean, I've only done, this is my 4th vlog now, but now I've filmed 2 in one day, but yeah, I'm a lot more comfortable talking in front of the camera than I thought I would be, and I'm a lot less nervous about people's perceptions of me online than I thought I would be. So that's been really, really cool and really fun, and I'm really hoping to explore it some more as I post more videos and I get to know other vloggers here on BookTube. Okay, second question. Which book of 2014 took you on an incredible bookish journey and you had trouble readjusting to your everyday reality because the context was realistically intense? Okay, this one's really easy and I've already said it quite a few times now, but We Were Liars by E. Lockhart. I just read this book Tuesday night, really early Wednesday morning, like, you know, it was still just a little bit, it wasn't even 1 a.m. yet, but this book, oh my god, it's still with me, and I'm still having difficulty focusing on other books because I keep coming back to this one and thinking about it, and it's just, oh my gosh, I can't even explain right now. I can't. But yes, this was an incredible book. Since I have talked about We Were Liars so much in the past few days and how I could not focus on another book after that, I will tell you about another book that I read earlier this year. I believe January or February I read this book, and it was just so amazing, and just I did not want to read anything after this for a few days, which is really unusual for me. Really, I mean, I've read over 70 books this year, and this has only happened to me now with 2 books, and it's been 6 months. 6 months, over 70 books, and it's only happened to me twice this year, and that is, the other book is Ketchup Clouds by Annabel Pitcher. This is the story of a girl living in England writing to someone who is on death row in the US, and she's writing to this inmate because she feels so guilty about how she killed a boy, you know, and how she's dealing with it because no one knows, and she cannot talk to anyone except this death row inmate. And I really, really enjoyed this. She tells a story of what happened leading up to how that boy died, but she's also interspersing it with things that are going on now. So you get a glimpse both at what it was like a year ago and what it's like for her now, having to keep this secret. I highly, highly recommend this book. I cannot stress that enough. One of my favorite books of 2014, definitely. Next question. Which authors do you already know you could read each book they've released because you are that attached to their writing and the style in which they tell their stories? Okay, I have, I'm gonna say, 4 authors currently that I can do that with, and I'm going to show you one of each of their books, and I will start with J.K. Rowling. Yes, I loved Harry Potter. Like I've said, Harry Potter was a huge part of my life. I read her first adult book, Casual Vacancy, and I know that got a lot of mixed reviews, but I really, really enjoyed it. And I have not yet read The Cuckoo's Calling, which she wrote under the pseudonym Robert Galbraith, but I am planning on doing so before the sequel comes out this year. So she is definitely one of my Insta-buy authors. Insta-buy, Insta-read, Insta-whatever. My second Insta-buy and Insta-read author is Rick Riordan, author of the Percy Jackson, Heroes of Olympus, and the King Chronicles series. I've read all his series I have read all those books that have been released thus far. I am waiting anxiously for the conclusion to Heroes of Olympus, which is The Blood of Olympus, out this October. And I am already so afraid that someone might spoil the ending for me before I get to read it, and it is still 5 months away. But I'm really looking forward to it, and I'm also looking forward to his new series, which is going to be about Norse mythology. So, yay! So yeah, he's my second Insta-buy, Insta-read author. My third Insta-read and Insta-buy author, I only started reading last year, and that is Gail Carriger, author of The Finishing School and Parasol Protectorate series. I have read all of her books that have been released now. I just read Curses and Conspiracies last week after putting it off for months. I just have such a bad feeling that I am going to go through withdrawal before the next book in her finishing school is released in November, and it's going to be awful. But I am so glad that she's also releasing another series set in this same world, which is going to be following the daughter of the main character in Parasol Protectorate. It's going to be amazing. Can't wait for 2015 for that book to come out. My fourth, and I believe last, Insta-Buy and Insta-Read author is actually a writing duo, and that is John Barrowman and Carol E. Barrowman. Together they've written the Hollow Earth trilogy. The third book is not yet released anywhere. It's coming out in the UK this July. As far as I'm aware, there's no set release date for the US. And I've also read John's memoirs, which they've written together, and I love their writing style. I love the stories that they tell together, and I love that they're a brother-sister writing team, and I also just love John Barrowman in general. I mean, really, he's an amazing actor, singer, dancer, writer. You know, he's got it all going on. So, and he does amazing charity work, and I love him. So yes, him and his sister, Insta-Buy and Insta-Read for me. So, next question. Do you enjoy reading time slips and time travel narratives? If so, which were your favorites, and how did the authors approach the format of the story differently? Okay, I really do enjoy time travel. Again, I'm a fan of Doctor Who. I've read pretty much all of the novels they put out for the 9th, 10th Doctor, as well as for Torchwood, which is not really time travel-y, but, you know, aliens. And some of the 11th Doctor's books, I believe all the ones with Amy and Rory, but none of the ones with Clara. And so, big time travel fan. I'm going to be talking outside the Doctor Who novels as far as favorites and other ones I've read, but probably my first foray into time travel was Both Sides of Time by Caroline B. Cooney. And this follows a girl from modern day being sent back into, I believe, yes, being sent back to 1895. And I loved it. I love how this series went on. It was it's a quartet, and I loved how, you know, you fall in love in one century, and you can't be with that person because you're not from that century, and you can't leave your family. And I love the way she explored that, and how she explored that in this book, but then also how she continued to explore it in the other books in the quartet. Like the second one, the main character Annie is back in modern day times, and the boy she fell in love with and who fell in love with her, Strat, he's still back in the 1890s. And he knows the truth. He knows that she time traveled, but no one else believes him, and so he's sent to a madhouse, and you know, and he's just hoping one day Annie will return. And so I really loved that Caroline B. Cooney focused on that aspect of, you know, knowing the truth, of, you know, not being able to be with someone because of the time. And then, you know, and then being seen as insane, you know, when you know the truth. So I loved how she did that. I did read one book so far this year that has 2 time periods going on, and that is When Audrey Met Alice by Rebecca Behrens, and I hope I'm saying that right. I got to read this as part of her blog tour when it first came out earlier this year, and I really loved it. And Audrey is the daughter of the American president, and she's living in the White House, and she, you know, has all these privileges, but she doesn't get to be a normal teenager. And one day she finds the diary of Alice Roosevelt hidden in one of the floorboards, and she starts reading this diary of Alice's and seeing how Alice managed to have fun in the White House, even despite, you know, being seen as, you know, you have to act a certain way and deal with the celebrity that comes along with being a first child in the White House. So this was really, really good. I love this. It's a middle grade novel for anyone wondering. And I definitely recommend it, especially if you're interested in learning more about Alice Roosevelt, because Rebecca did a great job putting facts in here, you know, and talking about things that did actually happen to Alice, and putting in some really great facts about the White House, how it is now. I really like that. So yeah, this was my 2 different era book so far of this year. I have also another book dealing with different time periods that I really liked was Holes by Louis Sachar. And again, I'm not sure I'm saying that right, sorry. But I loved how we see modern day with Stanley Yelnats, and then we go back in time to see what's going on with Kiss and Kate Barlow, and why Camp Green Lake doesn't have a lake, even though lake isn't the name. And I love that. I love going back and forth and, you know, filling in all the holes like Louis Sachar says in the final chapter. I have 2 books on my TBR that I'm hoping to read really soon that deal with different time periods. The first one is Ruby Red by Kirsten Gier, and this is an actual time travel story with a girl going back in time, and she has the ability to time travel, but not being trained how to do it, because even though it's in her genes, people expected someone else to get the time traveling gene. So it sounds really good, and I'm hoping to pick this up soon. The second one that's on my TBR to read really soon is Calling Me Home, and I really love the idea of someone looking back on their life and how things were back when they were young, and then someone else learning from their past, because I really think that we could all learn from each other's past, not just what's in the history books, but, you know, just people's lives in general. So this I'm really looking forward to getting to, and this is an adult novel for anyone wondering. Next question. Woohoo! Okay. Which genres of literature would you be most keen to explore next if your heart was not pulling you in your current direction of literary wanderings? Right now, I'm currently reading a lot of fantasy and contemporary, and also some classics, thankfully. But that's partially because I'm doing my classics readathon this spring and summer, so that's why classics are in there. If I didn't have that readathon going on, I doubt I'd be reading as many classics as I have been. As far as what I'd like to read, I would like to be reading some more historical novels. There are some really good historical fiction books that just came out, including Prisoner of Night and Fog. I can't remember the name of the author right now. I think it's Amy, but I'll link to all these books that I'm mentioning in the description. But that one I'm really looking forward to. It's about Hitler's niece being raised by Hitler. So that's really cool, and I really want to read that. But I'm like not as into historical right now, so that's difficult. But yeah, historical is what I'd like to be reading right now. Next question. What gets you wicked happy being a book blogger and a reader who blogs? I love finding out about all the new releases. Before I started blogging, I wasn't really aware when books were being released, except for series installments. Like, I would keep track of Harry Potter, Percy Jackson, Heroes of Olympus, you know, all those series, but I wouldn't necessarily be keeping track of the standalone novels. So being able to keep track of that is really great. And like I said before, also talking to people about books, I love that, because I did not get to do much of that before. I do it a little in real life, as one of my friends, Hannah, is also a book blogger, and I'll link to her blog down below. But I don't get to talk to as many readers in real life as I would like to. Next question. First thing that flashes to mind when you decide to explore a new tucked away secondhand bookshop. First of all, oh my gosh, I love secondhand bookstores. I really do. Because, you know, there are so many books that you can't find in used stores because they're out of print, or maybe you can't find the edition you want. And so it's always fun to just find a new bookstore, a new used bookstore, and just go in and look. And usually the first thing I do is I don't care about prices. I go and I look for the books that I've been looking for a really long time. Like I said, special edition. You know, if I'm looking for a certain edition of something, I'll be like, I need this book. But I always browse myself, and I go to the correct section and I browse. I never ask if a book is available, because I always like the joy of finding a book on my own rather than being told, yes, it's in stock, or no, it's not in stock. So I always go and I look myself. I don't ask. That's how I am anywhere, even with new books. So I'm always all about finding books that I'm looking for. I have a long wish list of books that I want certain editions of, and sometimes I have found them, and I'm just overjoyed when I do. I also tend to look at the non-fiction section more in used bookstores than new bookstores, because I'm interested really in three topics. The first being the Titanic, the second being the Romanovs, especially Anastasia and her family, and the third is Stalag 17B, which was a German prison camp in World War II. And so I'm always looking for books on those three topics. But I tend to like to look in the used section, especially with the Titanic and Anastasia, because new things are always coming to light, and therefore books are becoming irrelevant, and then they're not in bookstores, you know, on the shelf, because they don't want out-of-date books on their shelves. They want, you know, the new books with the current facts on there and available to purchase. For instance, you know, with Anastasia, for so long they thought maybe she survived, and there were all these women coming forward and saying, I'm Anastasia, no, I'm Anastasia. And there was even at least one who came forward as Alexei Romanov, Anastasia's brother. But of course that the entire family did die in the basement, and they found all their, and so I'm always looking for, you know, the books from before their bones were found, before they were buried properly. And, you know, I like reading the theories. With Stalag 17B, I have not found as many books on that topic as I would like. The reason I'm interested in this topic is because my grandfather was a prisoner in that camp during World War II, and he died before I was born, but I'm always interested in learning what his experience was like there during that time, you know, in a way to get to know him better than I do now, through the stories that my parents and other relatives have told me. So I'm always looking for books on that, but there aren't as many as I would like. So yeah, that's a disappointment. But those are the three nonfiction I always look for in used bookstores that I don't look for in new bookstores. I also like browsing just for fun, and books that, you know, maybe I don't know about, but they're not in print anymore, you know. So it's all about the browsing for me. It's like potentially new to me books, and I love that. Next question. Bookish conventions and festivals are on my radar to attend when life allows, as you have had the pleasure of attending a few over the past year. What is your best takeaway from the experiences? I love going to Q&As and panels, especially because I love hearing authors' thoughts on not just how they come up with the book idea and how they wrote it, but other topics and their life in general. And I love hearing about them, because for so long authors were like just this name on the book jacket, on the book cover, and you didn't really think there was a person behind the book. And, you know, now, especially with Twitter and blogs and everything, you are getting to know those people. So I really like getting to know people getting to know the people behind the books. As far as recommendations for what to do, get there early. If it's a really popular author, get there early. I went to an event for Gail Carriger in New York in March, and I got there on time. I almost thought I wasn't going to make it on time, but I did. But the room was packed. It was really hard to find a good seat, and then I was sitting behind someone in a really large hat because a lot of the fans got dressed up in Victorian or steampunk era clothes. So try and get there early, get a good seat. If you're gonna blog about it, definitely take notes. Maybe even record the panel. Not necessarily video record, but audio, make an audio recording. I do that. I take notes. I take lots of pictures. You know, you never know when they're gonna do something, and you don't want to be looking at your pictures while you're taking pictures, because so I just keep taking pictures because you're gonna get some wonky expressions in there. Also, you know, don't worry about sticking to a schedule. I'm going to Book Expo America on the 31st, and even though myself and my friend Hannah are planning what we want to do as far as who we want to have sign our books, if we want to go to panels and all that stuff, she's been there before, so she's told me, you know, you're probably not going to want to go to panels because otherwise you're going to have no time for anything else. And even with autographs, I'm going to probably want to cut down on which authors I want to sign the books that they have there. So, you know, it's all about being flexible with your schedule. Also, sometimes I buy the books I want before going, but just because I'm worried it might be insane, or it's, you know, they're not going to have the book that I want, so I might get it beforehand. But I do recommend, if you do that, buying something from that store, you know, try and match the price of the books that you bring. If it's a small bookstore and you only have like one or two, and it's at, you know, an independent bookstore. That's what I did when I went to Gail Carriger's event. Also, make sure before you go to a signing at a small bookstore, if they allow outside books to be brought in, because I do know that some don't allow that. There's actually a store about, I think, about 10 minutes away, like, you know, 3 towns over from where I live, and they specifically say on their website that they will only allow books from theirs that are bought in their store to be signed because of time restraints, which for me is really horrible because, you know, I buy books. See, as you can tell, whenever I come across a book that I like and I have the money for it. So it doesn't always work. I mean, if I don't know beforehand that they're gonna be coming to an event near me, then I buy the book and then it's like, oh dang, I should have waited. Sorry if my background or anything is different right now. I just had to change the battery on my camera. But what I was saying was, if you are going to an event with multiple authors, I recommend not going just for one specific author, because a couple weeks ago I went to a really cool event in Pennsylvania, and although there were 50 authors in attendance, I believe, there were also 3 authors who couldn't make it, and one of them was actually on my list of authors I wanted to meet. But luckily I had about 5 other authors I wanted to meet, and then, you know, I was really interested in also meeting the other authors and seeing what books they had written. But if I had only gone for that one author, I would have been, you know, so upset. So always be aware too that authors do cancel. Things come up at the last minute because they are people too, and, you know, and just have a backup plan or something. You know, don't just go for one author. Go for the experience of the whole of the event as a whole and all the authors. And I think that's it now. Oh yes, book signings. Sometimes authors will be the authors at events will be really busy, and, you know, there won't be a lot of time. So if you're going to have your book signed, take at least one post-it with you and have your name on it spelled, so that if they sign books to you, if they personalize books to you, this way they don't have to ask you how to spell your name, and it just makes things go quicker. Next question. This is number 9 from Jorie. When you think of thunderstorms and rainy days, what is your first joyful thought being a reader? Okay, well, today is actually a rainy day outside. And so this is actually a really good question. I woke up and it was raining. I'm like, I wish I didn't have to work this morning because I could spend all day reading. Otherwise, there's no reason to go out. There would be no other reason to go outside except for work. I could be reading in bed. I could be, you know, nice and warm and cozy in my bed, in my book, and just read on through that book. So yeah, that's what I like about raining days. The fact that if you don't have to go out, you don't need to. If you don't need to go out, then you don't, and you can just stay and read. And whoops, sorry, I kicked my tripod. Sorry, but yeah, I love being able to read and not having the urge to go out and do things. That's one of my big joys. Though I do miss being able to go out with my camera because I don't like it getting wet. But thankfully, I am filming all my vlogs indoors, so not a problem today. When a blizzard is knocking on your door, are you most likely to feel super stoked you can nestle into more books by a warm fire, or that it is one day you are definitely not going to be able to pick up your postal mail parcels, i.e. books? I am actually really lucky in the fact that when it snows, I don't have to go out to get my mail because the mail person comes to my house. I don't have a P.O. box or anything. But I am always super worried if books are coming that the mail person is gonna dump them in the snow and the box is gonna get wet and then the books inside are gonna get wet, and that has actually happened to me before. Not with books, thankfully, but with a package. Oh my god, seriously, the mailman put the box in the snow. And the box was soaking wet. It went through the cardboard. I can't even remember what it was a package of, but it was wrapped really nicely with bubble wrap and everything. So the actual item did not get wet, but a lot of the packaging inside did get wet. So that I do hate that about snowstorms, but it's more my mail person than the snow, because I love snow. I do. But I am most likely to feel super stoked that I have an excuse to stay in bed and read. Yes, all snuggled in my blankets, maybe stay in my pajamas, hot cocoa. Yeah, those days are nuts. Okay, question 11, and the rest of these questions are from Jorie's father. First one is, what types of themes and stories do you like to read about the most? I like friendship stories more than romances, I'd have to say. I mean, I do like romances. I am a hopeless romantic. But I love when stories focus on true friendships rather than finding some sort of wedge to put between the friends, like a guy or a girl, and, you know, having them fight. And so I love that. I also love family, because I do think family is really important. I really do. I know a lot of people say that, but it is. And so I like when it's happy, when it's not necessarily the families are happy, but that whatever they're going through, they stick by each other and they help each other, and they're not just like, oh, you have a problem, whatever. You know, I like when they come together and they help each other with their problems, whatever they are. Other themes I really like, I also really like reading books with characters who have mental illnesses. That is actually a really important topic to me. I always like when authors shed light on different mental illnesses, not just depression, you know, and suicide, but also anxiety, learning disabilities, really whatever anyone would classify as a disability or a handicap. I like reading about that, and I like when, you know, I like shedding light on those things and making people realize it is important and you should be paying attention to this. I really don't like when they're portrayed in as jokes or in a really bad light. Like I really don't like it. Like I really hate it when people joke about killing themselves, even in a novel, when you know you clearly know it's a joke. But that really gets to me. So I really like when authors write about it and try to get people to become more educated about the topic. So those are probably my top 3 that I look for: family, friendship, and mental illness, disabilities, those sort of stories. Do you prefer fiction over non-fiction and memoir? If so, why? I definitely tend toward fiction more than memoirs or non-fiction. I was never really a big history buff or anything growing up. I found it really boring, and it didn't help that my brother was hugely into the Civil War and the Revolutionary War. Well, actually, like all the wars in America's history. So I always saw it as being really, really boring, and so sometimes that comes across in nonfiction, and I can't get past it. But other times I do, like I said, with Titanic, Anastasia, Romanovs, and Stalag 17B, those I will read. I love reading those. And so I also like reading memoirs about real people who have overcome disabilities, like mental illnesses, anxiety, depression, that sort of thing. So those are really cool. But for fiction, what I really like is the fact that I can escape from my own life. When things aren't going so well, I have an escape, and I can experience things, that I'm not going through, and that I'll never have to worry about going through. Like, I mean, I'm never gonna have to kill an evil wizard, thankfully. You know, and I'm never gonna have to worry about time travel. I hope I'm never gonna have to worry about aliens, and I don't ever want to be kidnapped by pirates. But, you know, so I really like getting outside of reality and having this sort of barrier between me and what's going on, and the fact that I don't have to worry about, oh my gosh, this actually happened to someone. With contemporaries, I know it is possible for a lot of it to happen to someone, you know, murders, amnesia, and cancer, suicide, but it doesn't bother me as much. I just have to read those in the right moment. But next question. Do you have a preference for reading standalone titles or serials where you can visit longer with the characters? I like both, but I tend towards series more than standalones. And it's not even that I do it on purpose. The problem is I'll pick up a book, I think it sounds interesting, and then I'll get home and find out it's part of a series. Either the first one in a series, or, as it's happened a few times, the middle of a series. So I definitely tend more towards series, and I do love being with characters as they grow and change. Harry Potter was especially great for that because I got to read and grow with them as the books were published, because I started reading Harry Potter books when I was 11 and a half, and so Harry was 11, and I was 19 when the books were finished, and Harry was 17, but we were still, you know, so close in age where I truly was growing with him as the books came out and as I was reading them. And each time I go back and reread them, I find something else to connect with. I do also really love standalones, however, and I'm always grateful when I find them, because when I accidentally come across a series, I'm always so upset that I'm gonna have to wait for this series to finish, and why do I do this to myself? Why do I have so many series? And so I do look for standalones. Like I said earlier, I just recently read We Were Liars, and I loved it. Loved it, loved it, loved it. And although I think it could stand for a sequel, because I do want to find out what happens to the Sinclair family, I also really like how it left off, and you get to wonder about the characters' lives. Though they both have some really good strong points going for them, but and the only reason I tend towards series is because it just happens. There are too many for me to keep track of what is a standalone and what is a series. With fantasy though, I definitely prefer series because I like worlds. Yeah, okay. Do you enjoy character-driven stories more so than books which focus more on setting and locale? I'm definitely geared more toward character-driven stories. I love, you know, seeing how one person's event, you know, triggers something else happening, rather than just, okay, this is the world and this is what the world is giving you, and therefore that's what's going on. Like in the Hunger Games, where, you know, okay, the world is corrupt and you have to fight other children to the death. I like those stories, but I always like character-driven stories more. I like how, because, you know, life isn't always like that, where there are those big events that happen, in whether it be because of the government or because, you know, there's a shocking murder, and it's more about who you are as a person. Okay, and this is the final question. Do you enjoy reading books where the setting and characters are centered in the past or set in the modern age? Oh man, I love them both. I really do. I would probably have to say, though I don't read historical books as much as I would like, I do like reading books set in the past, especially World War II, and Victorian times, and also alternate histories, like in Gail Carriger's books, the steampunk Victorian era. I like those because I feel like with the modern books, my problem is, well, my problem is that I can experience that for myself, but also they get out of date so quickly, especially now with the way technology is. Like, you say someone has, you know, a flip cell phone in a book, and then it's like, well, wait a minute, this book was only published 5 years ago, but guess what? Most people don't use those type of phones anymore. So that so that is one problem I have with modern books. You know, you can already tell they're already outdated even within a year of being published, some of them. Also with, you know, with pop references, you know, like one book I read this beginning of this year. I think it was the beginning of this year, yeah. Not last year. It's either the end of last year or the beginning of this year that I read it. And they start talking about one of the characters is a rock star, and he says how he dated Taylor Swift. And he's supposed to be in his, I can't remember how old he was. If he was college, I think he was college age. But now, a few years down the line, you're going to be reading that, and it's like, well, Taylor Swift's in her 30s, and this is a teenager who's dating Taylor Swift. No, that does not make sense. So, I like historicals. So I do like historicals. I don't read them often enough. And for modern books, I would prefer if they don't have too many pop references, too many cultural references, because they do get outdated really, really fast. So those are all the questions that I have today, and I've gone through over 32 gigabytes, because I know that because I had to change my camera card, and I went through an entire battery for my camera. So I've been filming this a while, but also I was filming my bout of books video, but still long time, lots of data used. Lots of space used. I've will, however, probably be filming another FAQ video sometime in the future. So if you think of any questions now, feel free to leave them down below. And when it gets closer to the time that I do film another frequently asked questions video, I will let you know and give you a chance to ask me some more. So my next vlog will probably be up next week. So that's really all I have for today. Got 2 videos today, so not too shabby. My next vlog probably will not be until Monday, however, because then the readathon will be over and I won't feel bad about taking time away from my reading. And I'll also actually probably be tired of reading a little bit, if that's actually possible. I don't know, we'll see. So until then, I hope you guys all have fun. Keep me updated on Twitter, twitter.com/readerlymusings. You can visit my blog, readerlymusings.com. I will be continuing to post daily progress reports for the Battle Books Readathon, along with a few others. Today I posted my booking through Thursday post. Tomorrow I will have a Friday finds post up, and over the weekend I hope to have some sort of musing or book review post, so in addition to the progress reports. And of course Monday is Musing Monday, so check out my blog, readerlymusings.com. Till then, I hope you enjoyed this video. Thank you for watching, and I will see you on Monday. Bye!